Hello everyone. I decided to do my research or investigation project on Gloria Ladson Billings. One of the relevant quotes that I felt from her work were, "Culturally relevant teaching is about questioning and preparing students to question the structural inequality and racism and injustice that exists in society. The teachers I studied worked in opposition to the system that employs them." I felt that was really powerful, and that comes from her book, Dreamkeepers. Here are a few of her books beyond the Dreamkeepers that she wrote. Here are a few articles. This is one article that I focused on reading for this project. One of them is but That's Just Good Teaching, a case for cultural relevant pedagogy. So these were a few things that I wanted to highlight from that article. Stop trying to insert culture into education. Instead, insert education into culture. I think that's really powerful because I think a lot of people think about inserting culture into education, but they don't think of the alternative. And also, there is a lack of cultural synchronism between the teachers and the African American students. I really do believe that and witness that from time to time, that there is this lack of awareness for the African American culture. So I think that teachers need to really open their eyes to the ways in which they're teaching and what they're doing that might be not culturally relevant. So some things that might not, that would meet that criteria of culturally relevant would be making sure that students experience success, developing culturally competence within the students, and develop critical consciousness of of challenging the status quo. So not accepting racism, classism, all of those things within your classroom. The second article focuses on students being treated as competent. So if they're treated as competent, they will demonstrate competence. So having that high expectation for your students is really important. Effective pedagogical practices involve in-depth knowledge of students, so you really need to get to know your students and their cultures in order to reach them on a subject matter level. And the actual math has to be relevant to the student's context. So even if you take a math word problem and make it relevant to the students, they're much more likely to succeed in that word problem. And just looking at the math performance from a programmatic, personal and political front. The next article, entitled "Towards a Theory of Culturally Relevant Pedagogy." This looks at encouraging academic success and competence, and again, not accepting the status quo, actually fighting against racism, classism, etc. Teachers must attempt to influence how and what knowledge and identities are produced. So you really need to take a keen awareness as to what is in your curriculum to make sure that the identities are represented within those spaces. And then those that were successful with African American students saw teaching as giving back to the community and you as part of the community, which I totally wholeheartedly believe in. You need to feel like you're part of the space in order to be part of that and to feel like you're adding to that space. And then looking at research from all angles to make sure that we're aligned to the learning and teaching, and knowing from a qualitative perspective as well as a quantitative perspective what works with students. Some background on her: she went to elementary school in Philadelphia. She went and did her master's in University of Washington, and then she did her PhD at Stanford University in curriculum and teacher education. Two of her focuses are culturally relevant pedagogy and critical race theory. So I'm going to get into critical race theory in a second, but culturally relevant pedagogy is looking at political and emotional and social and intellectual aspects and imparting knowledge and skills through that. Creating a bridge between the home and the school, and utilizing the student's background experiences within your lessons. And then the other focus that Gloria has is on critical race theory, which is taking a look at race, law, power, which was started in the 80s with the critical legal studies. These are two common themes for critical race theory. A couple of her contributions is she was the president of AERA, American Education Research Association, in 2005, a professor at University of Wisconsin, a researcher at Wisconsin Center for Educational Research, and she really takes a keen focus in looking at teacher education and how we can talk about culture and power of culture in supporting education. A couple of the things that she focuses on in her work is this whole idea of owing these students who are marginalized. So I think that's important to realize that we've marginalized them for a long period of time, therefore we owe them debt. And then looking at the stakeholders and how they need to take responsibility for this racism and inequality in resources and funding. She's a powerful speaker. Her book is amazing. You need to take the time to take a look at it because it gives a lot of great strategies. These are two differences that she speaks about in her book, The Dream Keeper. So if you could pause the video for a second and just read these two, the differences between the two. What she wants us to do is to strive to be in this area here, to be culturally relevant. And then this whole idea of color blindness that she says that some of us have is the habit of just putting up with the status quo and not fighting back for the racism and classism and inequality. So we need to be proactive. Here are a few articles you can click on from my PowerPoint. And then this is the last quote I want to leave you with. I feel energized to be part of this new generation of students. People are thinking about schools differently and thinking about learning differently and using new technologies. It is all very energizing. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you soon.